Welcome to Critically Hilarious, a new segment I decided to start because, why not? Really though, I've been reading a ton of creepypastas and I felt the need to begin critically reviewing them. But these videos won't be without laughs, because the title says hilarious, so I kinda gotta deliver. What I aim to do is read out loud many pastas that structure on video games, include funny but constructive comments, and give a nice little analysis at the end. I've seen a few readings on YouTube already, but most seem to lack either good and plentiful feedback with an analysis or humor at all. So I'll be covering the middle ground. Gotta put that English degree to the test. As a side note, though, my English degree had my name spelled incorrectly, so shit. As this is my first video, I want to make sure that the opinions expressed here are my own and are in no way meant to demean, discourage, or put down the author. I honestly want to give feedback to people who are willing to put their creations on the internet to be publicly viewed, like this video. Not only that, but criticism is the only way for anyone to improve because you don't learn anything by winning. I mean, I suppose you learn you're better because you won, but just be prepared for harsh criticism and harsh jokes. Alright guys, before we start the story, real quick, I know I already said a bunch of stuff, but this story, like a lot of the other ones online, from people who are, amateur writers, whatever, or maybe they're even serious about it, maybe they want to get serious, they use they have a lot of common mistakes, like parentheses, ellipses, and commas all being out of place or being used too much. I won't, unless it's just ridiculous, I won't say too much about it. Maybe I'll quickly point out, oh, parentheses, or oh, comma, or the ellipses that just keep popping up. But most of the time, you just gotta look at some good, reputable sources on the internet, like Oxford or any other scholarly articles about the use of commas, parentheses, and ellipses. It'll help a lot, especially when it becomes such a problem with the story that it brings you out. I mean, that's just how it goes. Alright everyone, here we go. When I was a little kid, the two things I loved most in life were Godzilla and NES games. So naturally, when Godzilla Monster of Monsters came out, it was like a dream come true. Well, almost. To sum it up, most of the game revolved around getting through very repetitive outer space levels while smashing up tanks and jets and then fighting against Godzilla's monster enemies. Overall it was pretty mediocre, but back then I didn't care. When I got the game as a present for my 10th birthday, I played it night and day as much as I could. There was a lot shoved into that little paragraph right there. A lot. Unfortunately, I had traded the game for Amagon. I have to look that up. A year later, much to my regret when I found out what that game was like. It's worded a little oddly. Recently, I bought a new NES system, and through a lot of hunting and asking around, my friend Billy finally managed to find a copy of Godzilla Monster of Monsters. Billy? That's a very cute name for I'm guessing like a 20, 30-year-old dude. Comma, use in there. I was pumped to play my favorite childhood game. It had never even occurred to me to ask Billy where he found it. I feel like that's so out of place there. It never even occurred to me to ask where Billy found it. Like it's supposed to be important that he found it somewhere random. But of course, then it goes on. It doesn't talk about that anymore. He also gave me some other games like Legend of Zelda, Bomberman, and some stupid thing called Action 52. But Godzilla had to come first. First thing, Action 52 had that cheetah game on it, whatever it was. That was sweet. Don't say it's stupid. The other thing is, the writing aspect, we don't need to know about Legend of Zelda, Bomberman, and Action 52 because that had nothing to do with the story. I feel like he's just listing them off because he knows the names of them, or they're just childhood games. Maybe this really did happen. Someone did really give him those 3 games along with Godzilla. I don't know. But I feel like it's just unneeded. So I started the game, and the nostalgia came flooding back like a tidal wave. Godzilla's 8-bit theme song flooded proudly through the speakers, and I was soon grinning like an idiot. Flooded twice. Flooded, and comma. Some people laugh at me for playing such outdated games, but I've never had as much enjoyment for any other games than those on the NES. Those 8-bit games take me back. Games a lot. Don't say games so much. Those 8-bit games take me back to when things were much simpler, more safe. Safer, maybe? But after what's happened with this game, I don't have those feelings anymore. Oh, now is he talking about a safer, simpler time in life or a safer, simpler time in video games? Because it would be scary if there was a safer time in video games. That means like video games are like dangerous now. That would be terrible. I had forgotten how quick the fun of smashing things as Godzilla wore off in the scrolling levels. The game bombards you with bullets and things crashing into you from every direction, and you're too big to avoid most of them. Although my excitement had worn down some, it wasn't long at all before I got to my first boss battle. My first opponent was Godzilla, an obscure squid kaiju who had never been in the Godzilla movie. Ooh, he'd never been in one, so it's a crazy game so far. The most annoying thing about fighting Godzilla is that he's not very surprised. Like, just goes on. The most annoying thing about fighting Godzilla is that he always backs you into a corner and starts smacking you with his tentacle, and you're unable to move until he gets off you. And that's common. This move doesn't do any damage, but it can stall you until the timer runs out and you have to start the fight over, and you regain some health. Yeah, that's pretty annoying. The most annoying thing is, well, I guess it sounds like, yeah, so that makes sense. It's as annoying as it sounds. Okay? And of course, he did it when I fought him. Well, you just talked about that. Only for some reason, this caused the game to glitch up. Oh, because once he started smacking me, he never stopped. So the timer is supposed to end the fight in about 40 seconds, but this lasted for nearly 5 minutes. Wait, so how does he know? But it can stall you until the timer runs out. Is he saying... Oh, I see. I understand what he's saying. He's saying that the squid is obscure because it's not in the Godzilla movies, but in the game. I see. So this is a boss from before. It almost made it sound like it wasn't. Makes sense. Okay. After a while, the graphics started to mess up, with little red blocks all over the place. Which was weird. That's not a good way to start the sentence out. Which was weird, but I just took the game out, blew on it, and started it again. Okay? I wasn't about to let a little glitch stand in my way, so I started again. You just said started again. And this time defeated Godzilla. Oh, and the level's other boss monster, Moguera, without any problems. Well, that was very... I feel like that was skipped over a lot. So he glitched up a little bit. He took the cartridge out, blew on it real quick, put it back in, and then just defeated a couple bosses right in a row. Okay. Alright, yeah. I guess that doesn't make... it doesn't have any plot relevance? I'm not sure. So then it was on to the next planet, Mars. I browsed around the board and found something unexpected. Where Varen's piece should have been, there was instead a piece representing Titanosaurus. Oh my. There were only 10 kaiju in the game, and Titanosaurus was not one of them, or so I thought. Perhaps Titanosaurus was originally intended to be in the game but was swapped out with Varen for some reason. I don't know. I suppose at least he's speculating. At least. So I began to feel very excited. Not only was I playing my favorite game, but I was playing a prototype of some sort of with a new monster. Needless to say, I ran through the levels as fast as I could to see Titanosaurus in action. He should have probably looked this up online as he was doing this. Fought Godzilla again and beat him before he could do his tentacle smack. Oh, just out of nowhere he fought Godzilla again. Okay, but this time the glitch started happening when he died. Godzilla's sprite didn't sink to the bottom, but instead seemed to be devoured by the glitch, and his eyes started randomly spawning all over the screen. Commas. Looks like the pictures are pretty cool. I like the pictures so far. Hey, they're pretty detailed. I mean, at the very least. Okay, continuing. I know now that these glitches with Godzilla were my first warning sign that something was very wrong with this game. But foolishly I ignored it and proceeded on to fight Moguera, who this time had a glitch of his own. Oh, and that was a very odd structured sentence. I probably wouldn't do that. And then it's hard. It was my first warning sign, so I feel like, I know this is a recount of what happened, and he was a fool for ignoring it. Like he has some insight to it now. Like I shouldn't have listened to that. But I mean, it was a glitch. How do you know what's gonna happen? Although honestly, he could have just stopped playing and gotten a new game. Moguera was twice the size he should have been, which startled me. Ooh, video games are startling, I guess. He was also considerably harder to beat than usual, which is to say, not at all. But soon I had defeated him also, and when he died, yet another glitch happened. Okay, that very weird structure with the parentheses, but I soon defeated him also. Okay. You're kind of far away from the other defeat, so it just also, I don't know. It's just a weird structure. Being startled by a video game, unless it's a loud noise, I mean, yeah, he's bigger, but a startle is such a strong word for something. You know, you being startled, you kind of jump, you jolt. He literally jumped or jolted when he saw this. It's very powerful. You got to remember the power of your words when you say them. There's a lot of words, a lot of definitions, and you got to remember that overusing a word will just ruin it. But I digress. This happened extremely fast, so I was lucky to get a screen cap of it all. Yeah, that's another thing. He's like in the middle of doing stuff in the game, and these screen caps are amazing, by the way. Perfect. How is he screen capping this stuff? He actually didn't say. Okay, so he was lucky, but what happened was that the giant Maguire sprite started to shatter and melt, and he puts those in quotes. I'm not really sure why you put those in quotes. I mean, you're describing shatter. I mean, shatter and melt are, you know, stuff that... I suppose it makes sense. You know, something shattering is like glass, but it also was melting. Although that seems very difficult to do. So, no quotes. Shatter and melt don't work together that well, but I mean, you know, it's his own. Yes. Also, if you look at the garbled text at the right corner of the screen, you'll notice what appears to be a bird in a cage. I still have no idea what that meant. Now, we're here to believe that this has already happened to him, and he's recounting the events. I still have no idea what that meant. If you have no idea what that meant, it might not be a good idea to talk about it. Because I'm looking at the picture here, it looks like a bird in a cage, I guess. But what symbolism does it have if he has no idea what it meant? At this point, I was about to fight Titanosaurus, and I was worried as to what kind of glitches would happen this time. But to my surprise, Titanosaurus looked just fine. Oh, he's cool. Although all the game's bipedal monsters were the same height, Titanosaurus was a bit taller. But since Titanosaurus was actually taller than Godzilla in his film debut, I thought this was kind of cool. Okay, yeah. Game's glitching up, and then he notices that there's a monster who's a little taller, and that's how you... Okay, yeah, that's an interesting priority. After a very fun fight with the monster that wasn't supposed to be in the game, I look over the enemy base. I took over the enemy base and proceeded not to Jupiter like normal, but instead to Pathos. Ooh. Alright, everyone, thanks for watching. I'll be back with more of this story shortly. Bye.